Well, hello, friends. Thank you for starting the week off in the Word of God. I tell you what, many of you have commented about our reading plan, how aggressive it is, and how sometimes it's quite overwhelming. This week's going to be a little like that because some of the reading we're going to be doing is going to be technical in the sense of a lot of names that we may phonetically say in one way, but they just don't sound right. Don't get bogged down in that, please. Just kind of continue to persevere. We'll get through that. And the beauty of the narrative of Joshua, and we're in 12:7 through 15:19, I believe it is today, or 15:9, is that there's mixed in some narrative, some historical reference points along the way. So it's not just all these names and territories and things like that. And that's where I want to focus today is on chapter 14. Because when I read chapter 14, and specifically verses 10 through 12, the word that comes to mind is patience, and along with that, perseverance. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. So let's read quickly verses 10 and through 12, and then let's talk about it a little bit. As you see, the Lord has kept me alive these 45 years, as he promised. Since the Lord spoke this word to Moses while Israel was journeying in the wilderness, and here I am today, 85 years old. I'm still as strong today as I was the day Moses sent me out. My strength for battle and for daily task is now as it was then. Now give me this hill country the Lord promised me on that day, because you heard then that the Anakim are there, as well as large fortified cities. Perhaps the Lord will be with me, and I will drive them out as the Lord promised. All right, so the person talking here is Caleb. He's talking to Joshua, as verse 13 indicates. And notice what Caleb's referencing. He says, hey, the Lord has kept me alive these 45 years. Well, what he's saying is he's referencing back to that point in Numbers 13 and 14, when the spies go into the land. Remember, he and Joshua were 2 of the 12. They give the good report. The other 10 give the bad report, discouraging the people from honoring the Lord and obeying his word and going in. So they suffered the discipline of 40 years of wilderness wandering. And so Caleb says, I was 40 when that happened. They wandered in the wilderness for 45 years. For 45 years, Caleb waited. For 40 years, he waited to enter into the promised land and see what God had promised to give them. Now, for 5 years, he's been going alongside his Israelite brothers, battling, taking the land, conquering the cities, conquering the nations. And so now here he is, 85 years old. So for 45 years, he says, I waited. Man, what patience. Most of us can't even hardly wait 45 seconds, much less 45 years. And now here's Caleb. He has patiently waited 45 years to receive God's promise of giving him this land. And not just to receive it, but he's going to go take it. He even says here, he said, hey, I'm just as strong now as I was 45 years ago. He's 85 years old. How many of those listening today, you're 85 and you think, you know what? I don't feel quite as vibrant now at 85 as I did when I was 40. I don't feel nearly as strong now at 85 as I did when I was 40. What does that say? Caleb is obviously ascribing to God that God has blessed me, and that I didn't die with the other who disobeyed God. I didn't die with them in the wilderness. Secondly, I haven't depleted any. God has sustained me physically so that I'm still very capable of fighting. I'm still very capable, he says in verse 11, of day-to-day tasks. I'm very capable of doing that. And so now, give me that land. I know they said the Anakim are there. That's no problem. I know there are big fortified cities there. No problem. I saw them with my own eyes. I know what's there. But that's the land that I've chosen that I would like to take. Give it to me. And notice what he says at the end of verse 12. Perhaps the Lord will be with me, and I will drive them out as the Lord promised. There's still a tinge of humility there, isn't there? Even though Caleb's acknowledging, hey, I've waited. Hey, I'm still strong and vibrant. I still must have the Lord fighting my battles. I must have him going before me. I see humility there as well, dependence upon the Lord to bring about the full and complete promise of giving him that territory. And Joseph says, hey, he blessed Caleb. He blessed him. He said, go take it. And indeed, he did take it. God gave him the land. God gave him victory. And it's just a reminder to us that even when we receive promises from God, we must be patient. Those promises will come in God's time and according to his purpose. We must persevere oftentimes to not get distracted by God, what we may think is God's inactivity, but instead be focused on where God is working and join him there. Be intent and intentional about working effectively for where God has us positioned now or what God has us purpose for now. Instead of getting caught up with what we hope God will potentially give us, we stay focused. What a great illustration this is on the part of Caleb, that he waited 45 years. And in fact, that he's despite the fact he's 85 years old, he still trusts God, and he still is very able to actively participate in the battle. Friends, that's a reminder to us. We must be patient, we must persevere, but we must also remain humble. As verse 12 said, if the Lord will bless me, if he will be with me, then I can drive out these people. He still knew he had to have God's blessing, he had to have God's presence, had to have God's power fighting his battle. And we need the same. We need the same. Well, we're starting the week off well in the Word of God. I hope you're doing this first thing in the morning. What a great time to get into the Word so the Word gets into you. And as we start this week off, God has great things for you. He has a purpose for your life. He has objectives for you to accomplish, things that he has intentioned specifically for you. And so as you finish up your time in the Word, enter into that time of prayer. Remember we talk about in our REST acronym, engage with him continually in prayer. Spend a little time with him in prayer, asking him to reveal his will for you today, his will for your life, asking him who it is he would have you to enter, engage with the gospel. Ask who it is he would have you to pray with today. Maybe there's somebody at work you need to pray with. Maybe somebody at school you need to pray with. But seek the face of God and seek to be obedient to his will. And then watch in amazement, because God used Caleb, 85-year-old Caleb, and his clan to take that land. Watch in amazement as God accomplishes through and with you things you never dreamed were possible on your own. Well, friends, I love you. I appreciate you. I enjoy our opportunities to get in the Word together. As you head out the door, just like I'm heading out the door, live sent.